Ladies and gentlemen, this will serve as your 5-minute warning. This will serve as your 5-minute warning. Please clear the aisles and find a seat. Please clear the aisles and find a seat. Thank you. Once again, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We ask that you take your seats, clear the aisles, and take your seats. Our program is about to begin. At this point, we ask that no one use the center doors to enter the ballroom. The doors are closed and not accessible. Again, our program will begin momentarily. Ladies and gentlemen, the Army leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the presentation of the colors and the singing of our national anthem by the United States Army Band Pershing Zone, conducted this morning by their leader and commander, Colonel Bruce Pulver. Please remain standing for the invocation by Chaplain Colonel James Key, the U.S. Army Military District of Washington's command chaplain, followed by the retiring of the colors.
Let us bow our heads and close our eyes as we go to God in prayer. Dear God, our help in ages past and our hope for years to come, we gather before you today to ask that you bless the Association of the United States Army's 2024 annual meeting, a gathering of military professionals, defense industry leaders, and policymakers. Today, as we explore the latest advancements in defense technology, compel us to remember that you are not only the source of all that is good, but the source of our accomplishments and blessings too. We're grateful on this day for every gift that you have given us, both large and small. And so as we network with peers from around the globe, inspire us to strive for excellence while displaying your character. Remind us that we are because you are the creator of all things, and where you lead, you provide. For it is in your mighty, liberating, and sustaining name we pray. And we all say together on this great morning, Amen and amen.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Association of the United States Army, General Robert Brown, United States Army, retired.
Well, welcome to the 2024 annual meeting of the Association of the United States Army. Welcome to our distinguished guests, our Secretary of the Army, Chief of Staff of the Army, Sergeant Major of the Army. Thank you for being here, such an honor. A special welcome to our former Secretaries of the Army who are here among us, former Chiefs of Staff, and then also our former Sergeants Major of the Army. We're pleased this morning to welcome several Gold Star families. Your courage inspires us, and we promise you that we will never forget. I want to acknowledge the representatives from over 90 countries, 12 ambassadors, 21 chiefs of army, and 12 command sergeants majors from our allies and partners. Welcome to the 70th, yes, the 70th, seems unbelievable, 70th annual meeting. This year's theme is Transforming for a Complex World, and we could not have a more relevant or timely theme as the Army is undergoing the most significant transformation in the last 50 years while continuing operations across the globe. AUSA's annual meeting is the perfect venue to provide focus across the Army to engage in world-class educational forums, addressing the critical challenges facing our Army, and to connect with industry for the latest advances in equipment and technology for our soldiers. While the world is more complex than ever, there is nothing the greatest team in the world, the United States Army, can't accomplish. A strong Army will deter our adversaries, and if they try to do our nation harm, they'll be defeated. Our industry partners on the exhibit floor are showcasing the latest in innovation, technology, and systems throughout the convention center, and you'll want to see these impressive products, along with the networking you'll do here in the next few days that would take you about 2 years in traveling all around the world to accomplish any other way. And now it's an honor to introduce the great soldiers of the Military District of Washington as they kick off the annual meeting in style.
We're marching ahead, we're blazing the trails. This is the future, we're setting the sail. We're building a path to things we never done. Tomorrow is here, it's rising with the sun. And evolution, revolutions come. It's only started, only just begun. This is the moment we've been waiting for. So open up the door.
Welcome to the future.
Welcome to the, welcome to the,
Welcome to the future. Welcome to the, welcome to the, welcome to the future. A new day, welcome to a new way. Welcome to the future.
I woke up this morning, I'm thanking God for the country I live in. The fact that I got it, go give it to make a difference. There are many locations around the world that can't feed the children. But in America, you can go from penny pinching to stacking your pension. If you want to succeed, you gotta believe. Hey, work hard, trust God, in time you'll see. Keep both your hands together like the clock at the end of Christmas Eve. I know some people that did some deeds for you and me, and that were free. Don't get me wrong, I know everything that glitter and gold. Some of you had to go take a long road. You can stay bitter or you can get bold. Even when the light is dimmer, you can stand up when the come out and watch how the sun glimmer and always remember the many defenders that died in the past. That the future's our home.
Welcome to the future.
Hey, hey, welcome to the, hey, welcome to the, hands up, hands up.
The future.
I see you in the back. Hey,
Welcome to
hey, hey,
welcome to
hey, hey,
welcome
come
to
on.
the future.
I know what,
A new day,
I know that.
new way.
Say,
Welcome to the future.
Imagine a world where change is the only constant, where we have to stay one step ahead to keep up, and 2 steps ahead to take the lead. It's actually not that hard to imagine, though, because it's a reality we face in today's Army. In order to ensure our soldiers have the edge they need to maintain the upper hand in any conflict, we are always evolving, adding new capabilities, and reshaping our forces.
The global security landscape, it is unpredictable, complex, and always keeping us on our toes. But we're not just reacting to it. We're embracing the challenge of innovation, and our mission is clear. Be ready for whatever comes our way, stand strong, and emerge victorious against any adversary. Because let's be honest, losing isn't in our playbook. But here's the thing. As we power through this era of transformation, we know what really matters, or rather, who really matters. It's our soldiers, civilians, and families who are the very heartbeat of our Army. They have been our rock for 250 years, and no matter how much our institution grows and changes, they will always be the foundation of everything we do.
From that foundation, we build teams. Teams of experts that bring unique skills, strength, resilience, and professionalism. Teams need leaders, the officers and NCOs that encourage, guide, and mentor junior soldiers. Teams need continuity, the soldiers and civilians that metaphorically and sometimes literally hold down the fort to ensure that missions stay on track and support is uninterrupted. And teams need visionaries, the agents of change that push us to develop, discover, innovate, and transform.
Most importantly, teams need each other. The camaraderie of your brothers and sisters in arms, the love and support from your family and community, the extra boost from a battle buddy when you're just not sure you can keep going. For the Army to move forward and face the future at full strength, it will take all of us helping each other make sense of the world we see today, to keep our resolve and reach beyond the possible.
Ramblers in the wilderness, yeah, we can't find what we need. We get a little restless from the searching, we get a little road down in between. Like a bull chasing the matador as a man left to his own schemes. Everybody needs someone beside
beside them, shining like a lighthouse from the sea. Brother, let me be your shelter, never leave you alone. I can be the one you call when you're low. Sister, let me be your fortress when the night winds are driving on. Be the one to light the way, bring you home. Face down in the desert now, there's a cage locked around my heart. I found a way to drop the keys where my failures were. Now my hands can't reach that far. I ain't made for rivalry, I can never take the world alone. I know that in my weakness I am strong, but it's your love that brings me home. Brother, let me be your shelter, never leave you alone. I can be the one you call when you're low. Sister, let me be your fortress when the night winds are driving home. Be the one to light the way, bring you home. Be the one to light the way, bring you home. Be the one to light the way, bring you home.
Transformation is not just a buzzword. It is a necessity. The Army is not just about warfare. It is about adapting to the complexities of today's world. From cyber threats to humanitarian missions, our soldiers, civilians, and contractors are on the front line of change. Continuous transformation means the Army is adaptable, flexible, and lethal.
Consider the effect of technological advancements we've integrated into our formations. From small uncrewed aerial systems to advanced counter-drone systems and electronic warfare transmitters that operate at ultra-high frequencies that are nearly unjammable, the Army is transforming to meet the speed of technology. We are fixing the network to make our command posts smaller, more mobile, more survivable, and harder to detect. Our continuous transformation shows that our people are adapting, learning new skills, and processing information faster than ever before.
So how do we set about implementing and sustaining such a massive transformation of the Army? As General Retired Gordon Sullivan once said, "Hope is not a method. Hoping we achieve our lofty goals and objectives will never get us there. We all know what it takes. Hard work, openness to new ideas, and the deep and lasting commitment of all of us here in this room today, our leaders in the field, our families, and our partners in business and industry."
The Army as a team will continue to be America's force of decisive action for the next 250 years. But understand this, it's you, the soldier, the DA civilian, the Army family member. You are the centerpiece of the Army organization and the single most important contributor to change. Never forget that your individual and collective actions will determine if we stay 2 steps ahead. It takes your skills, your passion, and your voice together as a team to effect transformation in a complex world.
This is the sound of one voice, one spirit, one voice, the sound of one who makes a choice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound the sound of me singing with you, helping each other to make it through. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices three, singing together in harmony, surrendering to the mystery. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of voices three.
Let's just be honest, we made it a story here to the end. Losing myself to emotional courage, we fall into purpose, no more regret. Patiently waiting for my opportunity, everything's quiet, we moving in step. Feeling the pressure, no longer impossible, giving our lives for the ones we defend. We're giving our lives for the ones we defend.
This is the sound of all of us, singing with love and the will to trust. Leave the rest behind, it'll turn to dust. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of our voice. This is the sound of our voice. This is the sound of our voice.
Wow, unbelievable. That doesn't motivate you. Absolutely incredible. You know, I get asked all the time, do we bring in professionals to do that? Those are professional soldiers, unbelievable soldiers, amazing. Woo! So thank you to Major General Trevor Breedenkamp, Commanding General of the Military District of Washington, and the men and women of the Old Guard, our nation's oldest regular Army regiment, and the men and women of the United States Army Band. I'll tell you what, you're incredible, and you are all collectively inspiring. Well, Secretary of the Army Christine Wormuth joins us for her 4th annual conference. She's honored to serve alongside the men and women of the world's premier land fighting force, the United States Army. Secretary Wormuth served as a special assistant to the President of the United States and Senior Director for Defense at the National Security Council, as well as having served as the Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Strategy, Plans, and Forces, and then as Undersecretary of Defense for Policy. We are delighted to have her here with us today to open the 2024 AUSA annual meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to the Honorable Christine Wormuth, 25th Secretary of the Army.
Thank you, General Brown, for your leadership and that very kind introduction.
The Army, the Pentagon, the military contractors,
Wow, we don't see this every year, do we? Everyone, if you can just hang in there, I'm sure we'll take care of this in just a moment.
You all are making a killing after killing. Well, people are burning in refugees' heads. That is impossible. That is winning. Every bomb we hit, every check we make is a catastrophe.
Just hang in there for a minute. We'll get this situation under control. Okay, well, that was a good reminder. That was a good reminder that we are blessed and privileged to live in a democracy where people are free to express their views. Okay, so we'll try to reset. Hello and good morning, AUSA. Thank you all for being here. And first, I want to especially thank the hundreds of people who put this amazing event together every year. General George, the SMA, and I, and all of the senior Army leaders in the room this morning are grateful for your support of the U.S. Army. Before we turn to Army business, I'd like to acknowledge the tragic situation in the Southeast in the wake of Hurricanes Helene and Milton. Our hearts go out to everyone who has been affected by these terrible storms. Army National Guard, Corps of Engineers, and active duty soldiers from the 18th Airborne Corps have been conducting rescue and recovery operations, clearing debris, and delivering essential assistance to communities across multiple states. Please join me in recognizing them for their hard work. Natural disasters reinforce the unpredictability of the world we live in, and everyone here knows the world is getting more dangerous and uncertain. We read about it in the headlines every day. Army leaders realized toward the end of the last decade that we needed to prepare for a more dangerous future. So the Army began an institutional shift away from a focus on counterinsurgency and counterterrorism to preparing for large-scale combat operations. The Army established Futures Command, started updating our doctrine and training, and began the largest modernization effort in the last 40 years. This institutional shift was underway long before Russian tanks rolled into eastern Ukraine or Hamas invaded southern Israel. The world continues to grow more volatile, but the Army's transformation is now coming to fruition in 3 specific areas. First, we are transforming our weapon systems. For example, we are modernizing our high-demand air and missile defense units, replacing legacy Patriot radars with LTAMDS, and using the new Integrated Battle Command System to connect a wide range of sensors across platforms. We validated this combination during testing in March, proving we can significantly increase the capacity of our Patriot air defenses. We're also modernizing our helicopters to get our soldiers into the fight faster and from farther away. Next year, we will begin building prototypes of the future long-range assault aircraft, the Army's tilt-rotor next-generation helicopter. Just a few weeks ago, soldiers from the 25th Combat Aviation Brigade in Hawaii used augmented reality glasses to give us feedback on a mock-up of the FLRAA cabin. And in another 18 months or so, we plan to conduct FLRAA's first flight. We're also building our capability to strike targets from increasingly long ranges. Take the mid-range capability, our ground launch system that can fire Tomahawks or SM-6 missiles and strike targets over 1,000 miles away. This weapon was only a blueprint 4 years ago. Today, it is a reality. The Army's first multi-domain task force recently deployed an MRC 8,000 miles to the Philippines via C-17, establishing a long-range firing capability within 15 hours from start to finish. You can be sure our adversaries took notice. As we continue modernizing our weapon systems, we're also asking ourselves every step of the way, does this capability make our troops more lethal? Does this fit into how we will fight in the future? Does this program still make sense? If the answers to any of those questions is no, or even maybe, we are willing to make hard choices and adjust course. Ending the FARA program and shifting most of the funding to our other aviation platforms was a hard decision, but it was the right one. The same thinking informed our decision to end the Shadow and Raven programs, so we could put additional funding into more advanced, survivable unmanned systems. All the new technology we're bringing online, however quickly developed and procured, accomplishes little without the soldiers and formations that do the fighting. That brings me to the second area of transformation, force structure. We need Army force structure to be purpose-built for large-scale combat, so we are eliminating tens of thousands of unfilled spaces in units that were primarily focused on COIN and CT. But we are also building new formations designed and equipped to provide capabilities in short supply relative to current and future demands, such as indirect fire protection battalions, counter small UAS batteries, and MSHORAD battalions. 3 of our 5 new multi-domain task forces are up and running, actively exercising in the Indo-Pacific and Europe. One of these MDTFs recently participated in Exercise Valiant Shield 24, held across Hawaii, Japan, Guam, and Palau. During the exercise, the task force tested high-altitude balloons equipped with electromagnetic sensors as well as ultra-long-endurance unmanned systems. In Palau, the MDTF and Tennessee National Guard artillery units conducted a joint live fire using an autonomous launcher and the precision strike missile. This exercise showed how the MDTF can use its intelligence, space, cyber, and targeting capabilities to enable long-range strike against adversaries with considerable defensive capabilities, a must-do mission for the Army in the Indo-Pacific. To fully realize our plans to redesign the Army's force structure for large-scale combat, we have to ensure that it is fully manned. As I mentioned earlier, none of this great new equipment works without skilled and dedicated soldiers. Which brings me to the third area of transformation, recruiting. It's no secret that the Army, along with our sister services, has had some significant recruiting challenges. And these challenges are not going away. Fewer than a quarter of Americans are eligible for military service, and fewer than 10% of young people are interested in serving. Unemployment is at a historic low. More than 60% of high school graduates are going straight to college, and many young people know very little about the Army or what we offer. So we had no choice but to go on a full-court press to change how we recruit from top to bottom. We updated our recruiting school curriculum and started selecting and training our recruiters differently. We brought back the Be All You Can Be campaign and adapted it to the realities of the 21st century marketplace. We challenged every trooper to help us recruit using the Soldier Referral Program, resulting in more than 4,500 new contracts just this year. And for young Americans who had the desire to join the Army, but not the test scores, we created the Future Soldier Prep Course to give them a path to meet our standards. These efforts paid off in the fiscal year that just ended. The Army not only surpassed our goal to recruit 55,000 new soldiers this year, we also far exceeded our goal to send 5,000 into the delayed entry program. Our exceptional Army recruiters secured over 11,000 commitments into the DEP, setting us up for another strong recruiting year in FY25. I believe that our success this year shows the promise of what is just around the corner: complete transformation of our recruiting enterprise. There's still work to do to finish this transformation, but the Army, this won't surprise you, is moving out aggressively. We've selected 3 cohorts of warrant officers to specialize in recruiting, the first time warrants have been used in this capacity. The first group has finished training with industry and reported for duty, where they will help our recruiters with labor market research and data analytics. And we're building the pipeline so that we can begin selecting our new career field of enlisted recruiters next spring. To lead our innovation efforts, we have handpicked 5 recruiting companies around the country. They will use artificial intelligence and machine learning to identify high-value leads from a broader pool of potential new recruits, including young people who have completed some college or who have prior work experience. And as we find new techniques that deliver results, we are going to scale them across all of our recruiting brigades. Starting in January, we will pilot a new approach in Miami to let our recruiting professionals focus on doing what they do best, telling the Army story to young people. These recruiters won't be in the recruiting station doing time-consuming administrative tasks. Instead, they will spend their time out in Miami sharing their passion for the Army with potential new soldiers. Looking ahead to fiscal year 2025, I am announcing today that General George and I have set a new goal to recruit 61,000 new soldiers, 6,000 more than this year. And the DEP target will be 10,000, twice that of this year. This goal is ambitious, but General George and I believe it is achievable. You can tell I'm excited about the results that we've achieved so far, not just our recruiting transformation, but in the transformation of our weapon systems and force structure that is so critical to maintaining our warfighting edge. But for all the progress we have made, more work lies ahead. America's adversaries are not going to sit back and let the United States set the pace. Despite being the world's best land fighting force, we need to start thinking and acting more like underdogs. We need to push ourselves to build a stronger culture of innovation inside the Army. We need to adopt a greater sense of urgency and accept greater risk. General George and I feel that urgency, and we are prepared to underwrite prudent risk-taking. And we call upon leaders at echelon to do the same. As General George will discuss in depth tomorrow, that is what the Army's Transforming in Contact initiative is all about. There is risk in testing new systems in challenging environments and getting soldiers hands-on experience with new technology in the field. But we do not have the luxury of time to wait for perfection. We must field to learn. Recognizing the urgency of this challenge, the Army is already being more iterative and flexible in developing and acquiring new systems. For example, by including modular open systems architectures in the new systems we're building, we are avoiding vendor lock and will be able to upgrade those systems more quickly and affordably. Our new software development policy and software contracting center of excellence at Aberdeen is eliminating bureaucracy and forcing us to use best practices already common in the commercial sector. And we are working with Congress to see if together we can develop more agile funding mechanisms in the areas of unmanned aerial systems, counter-UAS, and electronic warfare. If this pilot approach helps us keep pace with rapidly improving technology without sacrificing congressional oversight, it could help build the trust we need for greater spending flexibility in the future. But there's even more we can and should do to innovate and scale new systems across the Army. We should push ourselves to do more to improve our requirements process. For example, we need requirements that are specific enough to help us solve a clear operational problem, but not so prescriptive that it becomes difficult to adapt during the capability development process. We need to be able to explore and iterate, and we need to put greater emphasis in our requirements on producibility and technology readiness where it makes sense. We need to be able to produce more things we need, like drones and missiles, more quickly and in larger numbers. We need to place smart S&T bets that may take some time to pay off, for example, in energetics, but in other areas, it may make sense to go with technologies that are closer to being ready to field. Our requirements need to reflect that. As we've done already with some of our new and high-priority programs, we should regularly bring together requirements developers with operators, industry partners, and end users for frequent and early collaboration. Then there's the acquisition process itself, everyone's favorite punching bag. If the laws, regulations, and practices seem onerous, it's because Congress put them in place to ensure programs are safe, combat effective, and respectful of taxpayer dollars. Though well-intended, the layers of laws, rules, and processes, and the audits and investigations that often accompany them, contribute to a risk-averse environment. They also add time to a process that needs to move faster given the threats we face, because time is the one thing we don't have to spare. And almost every year, we in the Defense Department or Congress add more rules and limitations to what we can and cannot do. We need to change that. We need to clear obstacles to innovation and use creative acquisition approaches wherever possible. We need to work with Congress to update laws so that we can take prudent risks that enable us to go faster and pivot when needed in a rapidly changing environment. And we should be upskilling our workforce to be more proficient in the latest technological developments so that they can engage effectively with our vendors, whether large defense primes or smaller startup companies. But as we build this culture of innovation within the Army and think more like underdogs, we can't lose sight of the human dimension. No amount of new technology is more important than the individual American soldier. We have an obligation to every soldier and their families. We owe them the equipment and training they need to be able to win on the battlefield, but we also owe them the compensation, opportunities, and quality of life their service has earned. That is why we've secured a 15% base pay increase cumulatively for our soldiers over the last 3 years. That is why we've increased paid parental leave to 12 weeks, expanded childcare offerings, and increased compensation for childcare workers on Army installations. And that is why we are investing over $2 billion each year on quality barracks for active duty, Guard, and Reserve soldiers. These investments are substantial, but the question is whether they are enough, considering the changed expectations of young people today as they make career decisions. I worry that the answer to this question is no. Many of the soldiers entering the force today weren't even born when 9/11 happened. Unless they had a close family member in uniform, what we called the War on Terror was largely in the background as they grew up. In many respects, their most formative influences have been the hardships caused by the 2008 financial crisis and the 2020 pandemic, coupled with the omnipresence of smartphones, Snapchat, and TikTok. Like every generation, young people today have a different set of needs and expectations than their older peers and parents. Data suggests that they are prioritizing family life, genuine engagement with their bosses, and financial compensation over traditional job satisfaction. And private sector employers are eager to offer these things because they want the very best talent they can find. Meanwhile, the lifestyle the Army offers hasn't changed significantly since before the internet was invented. We still expect our soldiers to move every 2 to 3 years, uprooting children from schools and friends, and upending aspirations of spouses who want careers of their own. We continue to rely on spouses and partners as a de facto unpaid Army labor force, available to organize PCS moves and lead soldier family readiness groups, but often at the expense of work outside the home and the earnings that come with it. Our own Army Career Engagement Survey shows that most officers leaving the service today are seeking more stability, predictability, and a better family life. Now, I am not suggesting that we telework to war. Don't misunderstand me. Nor am I suggesting we move to the British model of a regimental army, where a soldier stays with one unit for their entire career. As Robert Gates said in his last address as Secretary of Defense to the cadets at West Point, this is the United States Army. It's not Apple. Taking that oath means doing what you're told and going where you're needed. What I am suggesting is that we need to take a hard look at what can be done to provide greater career flexibility, stability, and predictability for soldiers and families. So what might possible changes look like? We don't have to go far to gather ideas. Blue ribbon panels, podcasts, and articles are full of recommendations. And some of the best ideas come from our own soldiers. Could we increase the options for MOS and branch transfers within the Army, making it easier to pursue a new career path without departing active military service? Should we restructure the force to reduce PCS moves to every 5 years instead of every 3 years? Should we modify officer career timelines and promotion criteria to give more flexibility for broadening assignments while ensuring we still select the right officers for command? Should we find ways to better match financial compensation with responsibilities, qualifications, and job performance instead of strictly basing it on rank and time and grade? Standing here today, I don't have the answers. Many of these changes would be complex to implement and would require more resources and cooperation from Congress. But if the Army does not seriously explore these questions soon, I worry that in 10 to 15 years, we could see our recruiting challenges deepen and our historically high retention rates start dropping, placing the viability of the all-volunteer force under threat during a time when our nation can least afford it. Finding answers and making institutional changes this complex will require foresight, leadership, and cooperation from the entire Army and beyond. As I have observed over many years in the Pentagon, there are few incentives for leaders to take big risks in the present when the results may not bear dividends until sometime in the future. But with the stakes this high, we need Army leaders at all levels to embrace the challenge, make data-driven decisions, and be willing to try new things. We need to engage members of Congress and their staffs, include them in our thinking, and ask for help where we need it. We need to talk to the press and the public about what we're trying to do and why it's important. If we do that, real change is possible. Because I have confidence in the United States Army's ability to solve problems and innovate. This is the Army that went from riding horses to driving tanks. This is the Army that embraced aircraft and birthed the Air Force. This is the Army that sustained 2 decades of repeated deployments and heavy combat after 9/11. A force straining and bending, but never breaking, never failing to rise to the challenge and accomplish the mission. We are on the eve of celebrating 250 years as an Army. For 2.5 centuries, soldiers from across our country have represented the Army values and the principles of our Constitution. They represent the hope that is fundamentally American and the eternal promise of freedom, liberty, and justice. They are the ones who choose to serve. And in return, we owe them an Army that can adapt and innovate faster than our enemies. We owe them a life in the Army that doesn't force them to choose year after year between what the Army needs and what their families need. I know the Army can count on the vast network of people in this room and beyond, industry, Congress, uniformed and civilian leaders, families, and communities across the country, to live up to these obligations and embrace the challenges that lie ahead. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Madam Secretary. We are fortunate to have you leading our Army during this time of key Army transformation. This morning, we will recognize some well-deserving individuals and organizations for their service to the nation, the Army and the Association of the United States Army. As many of you are aware, this year we lost a true American hero, General Gordon R. Sullivan. And it's only fitting that we name our newest AUSA award for leadership in his honor.
Named in honor of AUSA's former president and CEO and the 32nd Army Chief of Staff, the award will be presented annually to an individual who demonstrates exemplary leadership and mentorship for the advancement of the Army, both during and after their uniformed or civilian service. AUSA is proud to unveil this new award in honor of General Sullivan, a true American hero and legend who not only led the Army through critical times with strength and clear vision, but who continued serving soldiers and America's Army for 18 years as AUSA's President and CEO. As we strive to uphold his legacy, it is only fitting that we present this inaugural award to retired Lieutenant General Roger Schultz, who served the Army alongside General Sullivan, and who is a dedicated, compassionate, and exemplary leader in his